You're live here.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another special edition of the Hockey Nation Live Show. This is your coach, Coach Frenchie, directly from Miami Beach today. And we have to go all the way to find the co-host number 2 or number 1. Depends how you see that. But we have to go all the way to the West Coast, California. Mr. Michael DeVillano.
Good morning, Pierre. Are we over our NHL season-ending headache?
Yeah, already 95 days before the next season starts.
Yeah,
I'm doing this right now. Every day I put the number on the Facebook page on the Hockey Nation Live Show. Today is 95, so today the players is Matt Duchene.
Matt Duchene is what?
95 days. So every day I put how many days we have until, and I turn the number. So tomorrow's 94. So I'm going to find a players with the number 94, and I go all the way like that until the night. So that's what happened. And otherwise, rock and roll the day and Friday. I know it's going to be, we'll see how the people are going to follow up with hockey all summer, everything like that. And
we've got
of course, we have a lot of things going on in NHL. Until end of July is going to be a really, really busy day. And a follow-up with all the transaction, how the trade, the signature, the buyout. And it's crazy to see on social media. So you have to be on the point right now and doing this like almost every 24 hours and everything like that. So, and we have I bring out a show tonight. And I create my new show. So every night, Michael, during the off season, is going to be at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time, 6 nights per night, Sunday to Friday night. We take off the Sunday night. I'm not going to go nowhere Sunday, but I'm going to be relaxing. But the 6 nights called the new show's called the Power Play with Coach Frenchie.
Okay.
So and that'll be great. And during the next season, I believe I'm going to build that show at 10:00 p.m. And when I do the live stream, and then after that, 10 p.m. is really the right time. I call it 10 p.m. because the game earlier on the East Coast is over.
Yeah.
And the game start at the West Coast start on usually at 10. So I think it'll be a good mix to do that. So that's what's going on with me. A lot of stuff's going on around the league and everything like that. So I try to keep up with everything. And I think the best way to do that is go on the Facebook page to find the Hockey Nation Live Show, where you can find all the news around the league. And, of course, follow up with the morning show, 11 o'clock Eastern time, and the night, 8 p.m. So plus the video between. The good news this morning, I wake up and the 1K was still on. So I'm just worried the 1K disappears. So I'm wake up every morning at 1K.
I'm pretty focused on let's get to 10K. Let's figure that out. So I think that's the next big goal. It might be quiet for a little while, but I think, we want to talk about the future of the show. I do want to acknowledge people that have joined us this morning. One, Adam was here bright and early, so good morning to everyone from Adam. Alexis is here, and he should be excited because there's a lot of prospect and draft stuff coming up, including the expansion draft, actually. Hockey Snipes 86. Thank you for joining us. We have Hockey Nation Live Show. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay. Chainsaw Man, our good friend, is joining us. And then Joseph Ferreira. Good morning, Joseph. And we have our old friend, NHL Hockey News Reports, has joined us, so we're excited to have you. And Alexis asks, what's the Power Play show? So we can probably touch on that, because one of the things I want to do in this is talk about the future of Hockey Nation Live and what we want to do in general with the channel. You kind of previewed one of the things, and we'd love to get ideas from people and feedback that we think will grow the channel. The Golden Knights have contacted Sabres about Jack Eichel. Vegas has a ton of young assets to offer Adams and Buffalo, including prospects Cody Glass and Lucas Cormier. Whoa, and team's first-round pick. So that would be interesting. We can talk about that. That's really interesting, Adam, actually. And I kind of anticipated Vegas would jump in on this. So it'd be interesting. You're right. They don't seem very high on Cody, but I mean, I've watched him in all the rookie camps and in the WHL, of course. He's very high-end talent. if Don Granato did it, what he did with Middlestad and Thompson, or Tage Thompson, like Cody Glass could be as good or better than either of those guys. I saw that also. So yeah, that's really interesting. We can talk about that. Let's see if I can pull this up. Oh, there we go. All right. So the first thing was, we talked about it. It's the wrap on the 2021 NHL season. So what was what were the one or two things, Frenchie, that you think about when you think about 2021? What were the good points and maybe the low points?
First of all, it's like the NHL proved for the rest of their sport, they go through COVID with no problem major. They've been there for 2 years. The first time was the bubble, and they did an amazing, great job. Of course, with all the opening, everything like that, they could not be perfect. But when you think about this, they go through with no, not a big major problem or something like that. So I think you have to congrats the NHL for the way they handle the health and the healthy side for the players, everything like that, and for everybody involved. Because we think about only the 20, 40 players we see on the ice, but we talk about referee, the team management, the staff, the people around the team, the people like work for the newspaper, on the TV show, and it's not only like the players you see every single day. The people have to be around that part of it. So first, for me, is to be sure they are help. But the second, how do you readjust about that? The 7-10 days the player being on the COVID situation, and then be sure the safety with the doctor, everything like that. So for me, it's a great win, because that gave people like you, me, and many people around the world have a chance to watching hockey, the sport we love, and to give us that chance during those difficulty of the COVID. And I think that's for me, it's a great win about that one over there, to go through those years with difficulties for the people. Like we lost friends, we lost members, family, maybe something like that, or maybe some of you be touched by the health of the COVID. So for me, there's a big one over there. The second thing for me around the 2021 is a big contract NHL got on the TV TV contract. You talk about come back, a world comeback of the ESPN, and also the Turner Sport, which is called really the TNT, honestly. So it's a major big money there for them to. We can't blame a lot of Gary Bettman, but he found a way to advance this sport of hockey. So for me, that's a good thing. Then finally, I think I know where here inside the Hockey National Show, we never. For me, I'm guilty about that, but I think we know NBC was maybe not the best way to watch hockey. We talk that for any reason, right? But yet some people, we grow. Maybe some of you are 25 years old, or maybe 30 years old, or maybe you've been the hockey for the last 10 years. We grow with the voice of Doc. We grow with the voice of Chick, and we grow with Catherine, between the period of eternity. Some people there, Michael, they are still like John and McGuire, and they've been there for years after years. And I think we did not give them a chance to thank them for what they bring on the table every night and every time that. So for me, it's really, it's the end farewell for NBC Sport, but I think I just want to mention about that one. So wrap up, not on the ice, but I'm wrap up on around the NHL. That's what my three things for me at that moment for the 2021.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's hard to talk about 2021 without, the pandemic. I think it was interesting seeing a shortened, compressed season, and it definitely added an element to it. One was like the interdivisional play was really interesting, and I wasn't sure how that was going to come out, but it was interesting to see that. I think for me, I agree. Like, I think it was time to move on from NBC. My biggest frustration with them is the app always, because that's a major part of the streaming experience. So I'm looking forward to ESPN, who does have a very good streaming service. And, I think, Adam says a very diverse ESPN next year. I mean, I thought that there was a range of people that were on NBC. So I'm not overly worried about that. It's a very Disney.
You know, Michael, I want to open up here, and I apologize if I cut you there, because when I read this ESPN, Michael, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, ESPN don't need NHL. Now, and ESPN need NHL.
It needs something. ESPN's in trouble, Pierre.
So for me, that's what the biggest thing about that one there. And we have to give them, like, compared to NBC Sport, they are like 2 steps over them about the technology, the quality, and everything like that. So we have to give them. But for me right now, I believe that'll be a good. But I just want to mention this because I see what he said, what you talk about, but you can consist.
Yeah, I mean, I think ESPN will be an improvement. I've seen how they've handled, and you're right, they don't have premium content. And I think, there's lots of rumors. It's wrapped inside of Disney. So it's been kind of a weird 10 years for ESPN where, there's a lot of other shows that came out. But one thing about Disney is they came out with the Disney Plus service, and their streaming technology is excellent. And they've made a lot of purchases. And I think that this is the right content for ESPN. I think what would be interesting to me is we've seen UFC on ESPN, and they did a pretty good job of that, I think. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the other story for me around 2021 was, and it'll be interesting to see, there was breakout years for players in the shortened schedule. And I question if long-term those players will continue to break out. And you could go on most teams, you're like, wow, that guy really broke out. But I'm not sure it'll stick. It'll be interesting to see, because the interdivisional play, I think, gave players an opportunity to maybe play more and in different situations. So it'll be interesting to see how that carries over for a lot of players into an 82-game season, where we go, oh, it's exciting to see this guy come through. Does that translate into a much longer, tougher season?
I'll give you my answer right away. It will not happening.
I agree. And I think it's going to be very different going back to an 82-game schedule that's not stuck with the same 7 or 8 teams playing each other. But I think it was interesting to see that. Like, you like to see players succeed. And we got to see some names come back, like the Michael Hauser story was interesting. For me, seeing Scott Wedgwood get a chance was interesting. Long-term, I don't think those are opportunities. The other thing that's big to me is I think there's a new generation of young talent that really is showing that they're going to impact the game long-term. So I'm excited about Tim Stützle. I'm excited about the progress that Casey Middlestad made. Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov and the Minnesota Wild in general, I think, was a good story. Kevin Fiala's play. We saw younger goaltenders like Sorokin, Shesterkin. So those were big stories. And then it's really tough to talk about 2021 without the improbable run of the Montreal Canadiens. Carey Price, big contract, lots of questions about that. He really showed he can still play at a very, very elite level, led his team through, basically right to the finals. So I think that was a kind of similar to how Dallas was last year. That was a huge story for this year for me. So I think those are the big things. And then looking forward, like, what are you looking forward about 2021-22?
Well, every year I have an expansion draft. It's something like, for me, it's the next 3 weeks I'm really looking for before I go to next year, because you're going to have a lot of movement in the NHL for some reason. First, the expansion draft. So you have right there a lot more change. Secondly, the draft this year is really different compared to the last 5 years about the quality players. We have junior did not play, everything like that. So it's really, really different. Like the scout, it's almost like guessing. Some of them will have to guessing. So this is some game, something is really different. Thirdly, they have double more UFA players, Michael, right now, like never have before. So for me, that's the 3 things right there happening at the same time. And this is we are on the July 9, I believe. So it's going happening for the next 15 days. So 16 days. So we have to cover everything, but we have to see how this turn around. So for me to jump into next year, I don't want to get there yet on my side, because too many things could happen. The only thing we know, Arizona's jumping on the another division, and they are back with 4th division. They are back normal like they was before 82 games. So nothing changed. But otherwise, I have to put people said, the odds about who's going to win next year. I understand what they project on the sport booking, but at the end of the day, I'm not there yet to talk about 2022. I'm sure I'm excited what's coming, but yeah. So that's what happened for me. Is really, really the next 2-3 weeks, guys. It's all about this right now.
I just want to acknowledge a couple people that dropped in as we were talking. Bud the Monkey Boy, thank you for joining us. Brad Marchand's son is here this morning, so we're always excited to see that. Oleg from Russia has joined, so that's exciting. Thank you, Oleg, for joining us. We always appreciate you. It says, good day, friends. So we're waiting for draft company. Yeah, there's going to be the draft coming up. Can the team waive players today? I'm not sure about that.
So what happening right now, the 11 o'clock last night, 11 p.m., it was the open up for the buyout. So everybody can buy out the players, like Tony DeAngelo is really the discussion right now here, or Miko with Kaskin and everything like that. So last night I talked about this on the show, where they can buy out players, everything like that. So that will be the first thing happening right there. And then after that is going to be like the expansion draft, everything like that. So the players, the next, I think is 17, they have to, the period for Seattle start from there. So from now to the 17th, 18th July is going to be transaction, trade, proposal for keep that players, not touch that players, everything like that. So that's what's happening.
Bud the Monkey brought up, how I wonder how many teams made the playoffs aren't going to make it this year. And I think we're going to see a pretty dramatic swing in a lot of, like, there's teams that I don't think would have made it in a regular divisional play. So I think
again, I'm not going to get there, because if Tarasenko is going to Colorado or Tarasenko is going to be for New Jersey Devils, that changes completely the conversation about that one over there. So for me, until end of July, I'm not going to jump in too much on 20. And it's okay. Those questions is great to talk about this. I'm fine. But to get for me, it's just like I'm not know what I can tell you, because so many changes going to happening for the next 3 weeks in hockey for different teams. I don't know. Example like Lestegard, Gruber, Brendan Saad are not there anymore with Colorado. That changed completely. We talk about Vegas. Jack Eichel is going to Vegas. That's changed the power play completely Vegas right now. And that's make this. But again, that's a good question. But it's just for me to answer.
No, I'm not saying specifically. I think in general, we're going to see maybe as high as 30, 40% of the teams that are in the playoffs this year won't be next year. I think it could be very different looking depending on – there's just too many factors that'll change it. I think one is the budget reality of what's happened the last 18 months is going to strike a lot of teams, and they're going to look to shed salary, and that'll affect what's going on the ice. And then I think just the fact that they're playing the same 7 or 8 teams, and now you open up the competition.
So I would flip this one, Michael, right? Yeah, 16 team or the 32 team, right? So 50% make it, 50 don't make it. Yep. On the 16 team make it this year, how many of them not returning?
I think 6 or 8.
I know. I would pretty much me. I would say 3 or 4 max.
You think that's it?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. There's some pretty good teams that didn't make the playoffs, but
I don't see a lot of good teams.
Maybe
the 2 team really can be out in Montreal Canadiens and Nashville. The 2 team right now cannot returning in the playoff.
Will Minnesota fare as well? Like we've got a lot of teams with stuff like with players in flux, right? Like, so you don't know if they say, hey, listen, shed salary, it could be very different.
Yeah, but again, Minnesota is going to return on the West, right? Or they still go back in the normal Central?
I think Central, but
yeah,
I think these are all factors. Like, I think you just kind of go down the list and you go, there might be 6 teams there that might not be in, depending on where they land, what they do with salary cap and players. Like, will St. Louis be in? I don't think so. Will Minnesota be in? It's a question mark. Nashville, to your point, I don't see necessarily being in.
Nashville not return.
Yeah, like, I think that Pittsburgh, Washington, Boston, Islanders are still in there. The Rangers are going to be very good.
Rangers will be the one new team in next year. They play in the Atlantic Division, so they're going to be back with the Rangers, the Flyers. the Washington and the Islanders, right? So they're going to be there over there. Can Flowers come back what he was before? I'm not sure, but that will be that. And the East Division, one of the 5 teams already make the playoff this year, is not going to return next year. That's game one right there.
That's why I say, like, you think Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Montreal could all be in flux. Like, generally we see 1, maybe 2 Canadian teams get in for a reason. So you might have 3 that don't make it. Depends. Like, it's, you know, it could be very different next year, Pierre.
We'll see. Yeah.
That's the thing. We'll see, right? That's why I say it could be as high as 6 or 8 that might not be in. But it's going to be an interesting storyline. Players that didn't do well that you thought have a chance next year. The one that pops to my mind is Kailer Yamamoto. I definitely think he started out okay and then obviously really struggled during the season. I would look for him to bounce back. I think this was kind of his sophomore slump a little bit, you know. He's a really talented player, and he played well at the end of the playoffs when he got into a top 6 role again. So I think that would be one guy. Mika Zibanejad started out really horribly, but he turned his season around. So
I have a good year.
He ended up having a very good year overall, but I think next year should be much better. And
I will tell you one player right here. I believe for me he was the most disappointed is Carter Hart.
Oh,
and if someone of them can turn around completely from not, you know, from the best for the 0 to the best, it's Carter Hart. So I'm not said he's going to be like the best goaltender, but you have one player right now come on my mind right away is Carter Hart for right now.
And he brought the Philadelphia Flyers right with them, right? So as much as he helped them get really good, you know, goaltending was so impactful this year. And his drop, it was a very weird offseason when I started gathering information because we obviously have a connection to him as he's from Everett. We know his goaltending coach. He always had this mental coach that he used, and he broke up with everybody, Pierre. It was very weird. So now that I'm like seeing all these pieces that made him very successful to this point, and to change all of that was very strange. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think he'll bounce back, but it's not a given to me.
But my point is, like, he cannot be worse of what we saw the Carter Hart, and you have so much talent inside that first. So for me, that's why if I read that question, that's the first one pop up on my head over there. I can tell you one more players. I think Elias Pettersson for Vancouver have to, you know, the injury hurt him, but he did not have a great start of the season last year with Vancouver. So that's another one come in my head right away right there. So I
agree. You know. So I don't know when the waiver wire is, but I think it's not the waiver wire. We're talking about the buyout period, right? I don't know. Is there a waiver period?
Yeah. So but you can put anybody on the waiver anytime, right? But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen right now because of the situation of what we had in July.
Yeah. Ottawa's going to make it next year. I think this was a good story, Pierre. They have a lot of young talent. They let them play. I really like seeing Josh Norris. He's a very high-end talent, better than we realized. Tim Stützle and Tkachuk are best buddies and played really well. It kind of overshadowed their signing of Dadonov. Like, he didn't really perform maybe the way you would have expected or hoped. I think in general, yeah. And Hoffman, I guess, ended up having good numbers. He is what he is. I mean,
for me, they won't make it.
Ottawa, I don't think so. But I think they'll make a step towards it.
But they will go forward. You know what they look like for me? They will look like the New York Rangers 2 years ago when they make up, like the last year, the year they was almost make it. That's what they're going to be. The division is too hard on that division for Ottawa go through Boston, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Montreal, Florida, night after night. So I think they will not go too far what we're thinking right now. But they are like 2 years at 3 years really to become one of the top, at least the half of the NHL.
Yep. Brad Marchand's son is asking, why would Tarasenko go to Colorado? Like, is there a rumor of that?
Well, so the situation with Tarasenko is like some people pick it up on him because he have a trade clause where he can select team, and he select team he want to be. But it's like you can think about that way, but why Colorado is going to get a player like him at the beginning like this, and the discussions about what him he want, but it's not what Colorado want. So it's
Yeah.
just the rumor around the league say, oh, you maybe Colorado want him, but listen, I believe me, Edmonton could be a good direction for him over there if St. Louis keep 50% of the salary. But
Right.
I'm going to
Why
start
would they
this
do
from
that, though?
another way. I did not see this nowhere. I would not be surprised if Tarasenko is trade somewhere, but Michael, I would predict a 3-team trade.
Like we saw. Those were
So
unique,
it
right?
could
Where
be
those were
another
Kane
one where Detroit did or Columbus have 25% retaining by St. Louis, 25% retaining by St. Louis, by Detroit, and then the third one like Edmonton pick up Tarasenko every time that. I would not be surprised if Tarasenko go to Edmonton, Edmonton trade Caleb Jones, Dominic Cajon, a first round pick, and then after that, the money between us two teams involved that part of the St. Louis get two players or one pick, first round pick, plus Cajon or Caleb Jones, and then they get something from the third team, like a second round pick or something
I
like
could
that.
see it move like that.
So
I think
that will be my discussion about Tarasenko right now.
if he's
But
healthy,
again, it's
he's
a
a great
really,
player.
really big point interrogation. I think a team with in the middle of the, like a team like about 18, 22 best in the league should looking about him. But
Yeah.
I don't know
he's
exactly
gonna
what's
be a
going on at that
desirable player.
moment, but it's the one of the team I'm talking about.
It's definitely risky just because of the injury. If you believe it's not a long-term thing and he's not going to recur, then he's a great player. I mean, he's an impactful player. He's a strong guy. He can really shoot the puck. We see he can step up and change the course of a game. If you put him on an Edmonton, that's kind of what they're missing, right?
Yeah.
That would be great. There's a few teams that could use that punch. But so Brad Marchand says Krug back to Boston. Is that a rumor?
Impossible.
I think that would
Agents left
really,
over there, signing a contract this year.
yeah, I don't
over
see
there.
that.
He's not going nowhere.
I don't think so. As far as I understand, yes. Oh, like next year, the Seattle Kraken are the expansion team that'll come into the NHL. So the next few weeks, we have a free agent period where they can talk to free agents, unrestricted free agents, and decide if they can come to a contract agreement with them and then pick them in the expansion draft. All the teams will lose a player, and there's really the same rules that Vegas had when they came in as an expansion team will apply to Seattle. The West won't be as difficult as the East. Maybe. The East looks very strong, I think, next year. Some of the teams feel old, though, in the East, Pierre.
It's a good division over there in the East now. You talk about, you don't forget the Colorado, Vegas, and then you have all this Vancouver over there. Then Edmonton is over there too.
So with longer season, we will see more injuries and see more depth. I think that actually this year was really hard on players because it was like they were playing almost every other day, Pierre.
I believe it's going to be less.
I think it'll be
less. Because now you play 3 games per week, so maybe sometime 4, maybe sometime 2. So it's not going to be a compressed schedule. Right. So I think you're going to get less injuries, on my opinion. You never know, but I think it'll be a little bit like that.
It'll be interesting to see because we're finishing so late, Pierre. Does that have an effect? We just played 2 very back-to-back almost, seasons. So there hasn't been the rest in between. But I generally think you're right. Like I think that the spreading the games out will definitely help. Bud the Monkey brought this up, and I forgot to mention it. By the way, good morning, Canadian Giant. Good morning to Zachary, and our friend Joseph is here. I think Ekblad played really well this year before he was injured, so that was important. But he brings up Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky really struggled since signing this contract in general. I think he's only shown a flash of what he used to be.
You see a roller coaster year for Bob Bobrovsky. He started bad. He came back really strong for 10, 12 games. He was unbelievable during 12 games. And then after that, he struggled back again. I believe the best bounce back is not the right words. For me, it's about consistency to show up. I believe now he's going to be more balanced with with a longer schedule.
Right.
The pressure is going to be less because Spencer Knight, and I think the team is getting better. So I think his number is going to be better because the team is going to be better. But to have a run like Montreal did, you need a carry price like him or Vasilevsky like Tampa, everything like that. So for him, Bobrovsky have to be this. But again, I don't want to be surprised Spencer Knight become the best goaltender the next 3-5 years. So it'll be interesting. But I think for me, of course, Bobrovsky have to be what he was, but maybe not less like he was, like the Vezina Trophy, but better for the money he got.
I could see a situation where he plays 45 games and Spencer Knight plays 37, and that's really beneficial. So I think that'll push Bobrovsky. Spencer Knight's going to be cheap for a little while. He's obviously very high end. Like, I think that they'll really benefit from the emergence of Spencer Knight, and they can be a little bit more aggressive with him. He doesn't have to sit and play 20, 25 games. He can play a little bit more, it looks like. He might even take the number one role this year. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. But, if you're a Panthers fan right now, be excited for the next 3 weeks.
So.
After that, you're going to be excited. You have a great manager, Bill Zito. He proved it so far what he's doing. Right? And then after that, you're going to have an amazing, great year next year. Whatever, sometimes you don't make the playoff. It's excited to see the Panthers play right now. It's fun to watch and everything like that. So you're on the great, great way now to become a good team, first of all. But I think if you are fans of the Panthers, you cannot be more excited what's coming for the next couple of months for them, for sure. So I just want to be sure that everybody, I'm not watching right now, but if you can click on the likes, that'd be awesome. That's the only donation we're looking for. Click on the likes. And of course, if you already subscribe, the beauty of this, you can tell to someone, said maybe to subscribe to the show. That'd be the best thing to do.
All right. Do you think the Leafs bring back Nick Foligno?
Absolutely.
Really? Just so they don't waste all that?
They pay too much to not get him back. So for me, Nick Foligno is going to be back over there. The situation with the money over there, but still have a couple they have still enough money for that. But they will bring back, because they not bring back Hyman. And I don't know how they can bring back Frederick Anderson when I say he's leaving. But it will be interesting to see that the next. But Nick Foligno have to be back in Toronto.
Adam says he's really looking forward to seeing the young and talented Kings team, which I have to agree with this, Pierre. Their talent level is very, very high. They have a lot of guys that got a chance. I think even Byfield surprised me. Like, putting him in the AHL was the right thing to do. We saw Velarde when he's consistent. If he can be consistent and healthy, he could be a very impactful number 2 center right now for them. And they're going to get another high pick. And then Kaliev had a great year. Like, they got a lot. Fajimo, like Turcotte. We haven't even seen Turcotte yet.
They are on the transition, right? So they start with the Jeff Carter trade at the deadline, right? I think the next will be maybe Dustin Brown, right? And then Jonathan Quick after that. So they can let it go to the one won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, anything like that. And they have to give a chance to the young guys to show up. So it's not a team you're going to expect a lot. They'll remind me a little bit like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years, but more 2 years, the Ottawa Senators, where they make some trade, like, they trade like all the Connor Brown, everybody clean up to bring the young guys over there. I think the lessons are about 1 year to 2 years to become that team over there. They will have to at some point, Drew Doughty, and then Kopitar is the last part of the puzzle, right? But I think they can go Brown every time that the youngest pick up the experience. I think they'll be really, really interesting to see them the next 3-4 years. But Rob Blake is doing well over there, and they've been good on their selection players draft for the last 2 years. So that's get under them another. If you're a Kings fan, good advantage about that. They're looking good. But again, it's be patient with them at that moment.
Hi to William Sheffield, who's joined us. Just on the Kings, I think, again, I would look for – they acquired Arvidsson, which I think will really help them, again, if he's healthy. I think that gives them an element to build an improved second line. I think Velarde's shown he can play as – he's 6'3". He's got all the tools you'd want in a number 1 centerman. We haven't seen Turcotte yet. Byfield is going to take a little time, I think, but he made big strides in Ontario. We haven't talked about Fajimo. We haven't seen was Kaliev make it. Anderson Dolan had some great games. Like, you go down, they have a lot of pieces. Like, I think you're right, but they still have guys like Brownie. They still have guys like Iafolo and Kopitar. They still have guys like Doughty. It'll be interesting to see with Quick. I think Quick and Pettersson make an interesting duo for the next year. I don't think they're ready to make the playoffs, Pierre, but they'll take steps towards it anyway. Brad Marchand's son says, do you think the Leafs in the next few years look to get rid of Tavares, Riley, Marner, Matthews, or Nylander? There's only one name on that list that I think maybe two at the most. What do you think, Pierre?
The biggest mistake they make is to have three players at $11 million, and they're going to suffer for that one until they trade one or the three. And unfortunately, Tavares should be the one, but I'm not sure they can do it. They cannot split Matthews and Marner at some point, but they thinking maybe trade Riley right now. Every time that,
why would you trade Riley?
But because they're going to cost him like $7-8 million next year, Michael, and that's what the problem they get. So,
I mean, they need to fix that balance. I think that's the answer, Pierre, and they got to move a Tavares somehow.
But they have to trade to fix their problem. They have to go one of the three. That's going to have to be better. But for fix the problem, because every year right now they have no money to
I get that.
Play around, and the young guests making one more money. So that will be the problem they get right there. So they would be really interesting what Kyle Dubas going to do the next 3 weeks for sure.
It'd be interesting to see if they do something with Seth Jones or not. But I think if you run into the same issue with $7-8 million in the contract requirement, I think it's crazy to trade your best defenseman. They don't have a guy that's at that level or that age. And, he was really probably the number 1 or 2 guy in his draft. So I think that's like they have to move Tavares somehow. And if you're going to move anyone, you move Nylander. I still maintain he had moments in the playoffs, but he's got the talent. He's like his dad. He's got the talent.
You cannot let it go, Nylander, because the contract is cheap at 6.5.
It is, but so is Morgan Riley at 6.5. It'd be interesting to see if Riley signs for 6 or 7, though. But it's a question mark. I think they're crazy if they move Riley. I mean, to me, to get a defenseman like that is very, very hard, Pierre.
Yep.
Anaheim, what do you do with them? For me, they're going to struggle for a while. They have a group of young guys that are kind of like 22. And then you got, 20-year-old Zegras. And Zegras is really the key at center. The contract for Getzlaf is done, so they get that $9 million off the books. But I think that, they're going to struggle at Pierre, I think.
Well, they're going to the right direction. So for them, they rebuild on years later what it should be. But, I think they're doing the really getting better and better. And it's a bit like Islanders Rangers 3-4 years ago, where they focus on prospect. And that's Montreal did also with prospect. So, look, they have Zegras right now. They have Tristles coming. John Gibson have a bad year. Talk about bouncing players. That's another one we should mention about John Gibson. Didn't have the great year over there. I think for them, it's to let it go, the big contract, every time that, and then rebuild for the bottom. You're going to have another pick over there. They have still 2 players coming up and on the club farm, and then that's what make them better and better. So for me, it'll be like, be patient, start what you have, go get more. If they still have, Silverberg is underway, have a terrible year like that. I think you have 2 market over there. If I was them, Silverberg, Raquel, 2 of them, and Ricky. That's 3 right there. Go trade them, one of them, and go get prospect again. Go get a 2nd round pick. Go get something like that. Maybe a 1 first round pick. That would be interesting. But that would be the way you should go about that one over there. I like the fact they hired yesterday Josh Ward and Nelson Brown as assistant coach, as the staff. But I think that would be the way to do this for them to rebuild. I have no other ways. If not, you're not going to rebuild with Enrique Silverberg at 30-31. And it's a time right now. And Silverberg carry on a contract 5.2. So that's a big problem there. But my suggestion is to go that direction.
Yeah, I think that those are all good points. Silverberg he's good, but Adam Henrique's consistent. 5.8 is a little expensive. I think the big thing is that the Getzlaf contract's gone. I would agree that Henrique, Silverberg, and Reichel all are options to move out, but like they already have 22 million in cap space, so I'm not sure. Like they have to sign a bunch of guys to get to the floor. Maxime Comtois was one of the guys that I was really happy had a positive season. I would look for guys like Volkov and Lunderstrom to take another step. Sam Steele, to me, is still not really hit his stride, but he's showing he can play at least third and second line, which is what you want. Max Jones could be like a Tom Wilson type player. So, but I think the real story is, they're going to build around Zegras. He's a phenomenal talent on the level of, a Jack Hughes, only a little bit slower. But he's got all the other tools, like a Cole Caulfield. He's got all the tools except he's a centerman. So that's what you're looking forward to. Cam Fowler, can they move this contract? I don't know why they would want to, but he may want to move on. Gibson is an elite goaltender in the right circumstance, but he's getting older, Pierre. They're wasting a lot of years on this guy. They're not really helping their case with him. But Bryce Kindop, they got Jacob Perreault coming. I don't think he's ready. I don't think Kindop will play in the NHL this year. Maybe he'll get a little bit of a chance. He was our former captain. The real big thing is Jamie Drysdale, and Brendan Gooley will be good, but Jamie Drysdale and Zegras are what you're excited about. And then whoever they get this year in the fourth pick, but I don't think that's anyone that's going to step in. Maybe it's an Edvinson. Maybe they go off the board and get an Eklund because they need something up front. All this stuff, Pierre, translates to 2 or 3 years from now. Yep. They're not ready. Can the Blue Jackets buy anyone out, and why would they?
They don't have really anybody there to buy out.
They're just hoping people want to play there, Pierre. Anderson is overpaid. I don't think so. Not really. I mean, if he continues to be goal scorer,
I think the contract of Josh Anderson was a little bit too long, 5.5, 5.1 for 5 years. But he did not produce the level he should produce during the playoff. But a little bit high if you compare for what the production he gave, for sure.
Well, I mean, 17 goals in 54 games is kind of what you expect from him. If he's able to get 20, 25 goals, which I think he's more than capable of, and he plays that bull in a china shop role on the second line, you're very happy with him. I mean, I think that's like Alex Tuck money.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think he's underperformed. Vliora, thanks for joining us. I want to see Josh Manson get traded to the Jets. That would be a good fit, I think. He's not young, by the way, Pierre. He's a 91 or something, I think.
He's only 24, 25.
No. He's not. That's what people don't realize. Josh Manson's 29, Pierre.
Yeah.
So he needs to go somewhere to compete, and I think that's the type of defenseman that would fit in really well there. Big right shot defenseman. He's more of a second pairing. He can play top pair if you have a really good number one. I think they need, though, if they could get a Dougie Hamilton, or they could get I don't think Ristolainen. I don't like that. I think he's got a lot of things that'll be exposed.
I think that's another way. You want to rebuild, that's a good one right there to get a second-round pick or maybe a first-round pick at a trade deadline. Anyway, he's a UFA next season. You're not going to pay him $6 million, right? So I think for him, if you can get him on that money, that'd be good.
How does Buffalo get rid of Skinner? I don't think they do, Pierre. I think they just.
It's impossible.
I don't think so. They either have to, even if they ate it, maybe if they ate 40, 50, they'd have to eat 50%. They'd have to do a two-way deal and give up why bother? Nobody wants to be in Buffalo, Pierre. Eat the contract.
Yep.
They're going to have a hard time meeting the floor soon. They're going to move out of Jack Eichel. I suspect that Reinhart, maybe they have to move him out. They don't have any goalies. I think you just sit on this contract and let him play. Let's see. He'll be 30 soon, Josh Manson. How much did they pay? Was it $9 million for?
Yep.
Is that what?
Exactly,
yeah.
$9 million.
A terrible contract.
Yep.
Let's see. Pierre, I think You have what's échange?
The trade. I don't know. You have a trade yet, but maybe a one or two players could be buy out today. But the trade's coming soon. Right? It's coming in a couple of days. You're going to see a lot of trade discussion between Seattle and the rest of the league. So you're going to get that. The Rangers signed today Harden back with them.
Yeah.
So but you're going to see those kind of stuff like that. But the key is to be sure you follow up. The Hockey National Show will bring you the best we can when we know something. Every time we have a show here at 11 o'clock, something's going on in it show.
I did want to touch on this contract. Travis Dermott signs with the Maple Leafs for 2 years, $3 million. He's only 24, Pierre. I really like Travis Dermott. I think he's a guy capable of being a number 4 defenseman, left shot. He's got a little offense that we haven't seen. I think this contract's very Toronto friendly, but does he stay in Toronto or does he get exposed and picked up by Seattle?
It's you see about that. Like I think Villiers said earlier, he wants Simonson, right? And if I was Winnipeg Jet, that's the kind of defenseman. A little bit Travis Dermott, Michael. He remind me a little bit what Carter Verhey was in Tampa Bay, and the stock and the traffic with two people in front of him. And I think you have Merzen on the left side over there, right?
Yeah,
and they have BJ Brody and Morgan Riley, everything like that. So he's really stuck at the third line with Sundin. And so for me, if he was with other team where they're looking for young players, everything like that, if he was be like right now with Ottawa example, right, it would be the second pair of defensemen where I think he would be great over there.
I agree. Like Ottawa,
this contract, you have two ways. So this contract is to give them Toronto if he's not going to be Seattle, all right? Yeah. Or that will attract Seattle to get him at that level of money. So it's a one way to another way about that. But if I'm Seattle right now, for what Toronto have to put on the table, you get Travis Dermott right away. You don't looking about other players. Go get Travis Dermott. You're looking for the future with him over there. We have a potential to be a really solid third, 4 defenseman in NHL at any team.
I totally agree with that, Pierre. Like, I think anyone that's looking to hit budget, he's going to be very attractive, and I think he'll perform very well. What is the power play show? So what are you planning for the power play show? Let's talk about that in a sec.
Tonight I'm talking about the report card of the Montreal Canadiens players.
Okay.
So I'm going to a bit expansion draft, the quiz at the end. And it's Friday, fun day for a fun day. So I'm going to talk maybe under or over. And I'm launching a new thing also where, like Michael, the time was like you can call someone and then you can talk with the person. So I'm going to open up, like people can show up and they can go live with me.
Yeah, I like it.
Talking about the subject, everything like that. So something I'm working on that part, some stuff like that. So tonight, Montreal Canadiens report card is going to be the big thing for tonight at the show.
So I think for me, the one thing, and we only have a few minutes, and unfortunately I'll have to jump, but next season, what I'm thinking, Pierre, too, is that, again, I think I've mentioned this, I have connections to the Seattle hockey market. I think we'll have to do something around the Kraken to bring those fans in because they're going to be looking for something. And it's a great opportunity for us, I think, to grow Hockey Nation live. And that might mean us bringing in someone to help us out with that that's local to that market. And I think I have a couple people I'll introduce to Pierre. And I think that's one thing we'll talk about. Next year also, I think it makes sense to have a Detroit Red Wings show. Probably can work our way and bring in some important people from Detroit if I really pull strings. And then I guess what I like a lot of the content that we're producing, but we want to grow we want to blow up, right? We want to get this to 10,000, 20,000, because at that point, then this really becomes viable, right, Pierre, where we can do this every day. There's opportunities for, to keep not only making content, but, not have to do other things to compensate. Like financially, I think those are the numbers that I think I see people when they get to 10, 20,000, it really becomes a real kind of business and it gives you new opportunities. So I think we'll bring in more big guests over the summer. Like I've talked to some agents and some coaches that I know that would be willing to come on. So I think look for content over the summer around that. And I'm interested in prospects. I know Alexis is interested in prospects, and I know that Pierre's interested in prospects. So I could see us doing something with a specific, maybe weekly prospect type show that might be interesting, and particularly over the summer. So those are some of the ideas. We'd like to know some of your ideas. If you want to contribute them, let us know stuff you'd like to see or what you think about those ideas. Anything else you're thinking of, Pierre?
No, all good.
Who gets bought out, Koskinen or Neal? I think Neal. I don't think Koskinen. I think Koskinen's contract's fine for what he does. But Neal, that's...
Me, I would say Koskinen because he's not cost too much to let it go. And compared to Neal, you're going to start with $3 million and more on your AAV. So you have a choice between one of them. I'll go with Koskinen about that one over there.
Yeah, and Brad Marchand's son. I think that if we partner with guys like Brad Marchand's son, if he's interested in doing a Boston show, let's talk about it, because I think there's a big Boston fan base, and it'd be nice that Hockey Nation Live becomes like the channel, and then there's shows. And that's kind of what I've talked to Pierre about, which is we have shows that are specific to a team, and we attract those fans and we engage them. We'll have kind of like horizontal content guys, where it's like prospects go across the board, NHL news goes across the board. But then when you have the team-specific streams and chat, and then the community on Discord, probably the channels are broken out by your team. You can go there anytime and talk about your Boston Bruins, your New York Rangers, your Detroit Red Wings, your Seattle Kraken, your Montreal Canadiens. I think that's really how we really can go from like 1,000 to 10,000 to maybe 100,000 over time. Like that would be a stretch goal for me, is like, how can we get this to 100,000 people in our community in a year? Because I think it's possible. What we've shown is we can focus on, one team and do very well. Can we multiply that by 10 teams? And that's what will be interesting to see. Alexis, I agree. You can help with prospects. So I really like that idea. So those are kind of my thoughts. The one question, will Dougie Hamilton leave? I think he fit very well in Carolina, but they're odd.
The only reason I believe he will leave is because the money situation. I think he's demanding right now. The demanding is there. So for me, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm thinking. He will leave more. What I was thinking 3 weeks ago, because now team like Winnipeg need defensemen. Edmonton looking for defensemen. They have a lot of team. Vancouver looking for defensemen, and I can go all the way like that around the league. Many team looking for defensemen. So I think that would be he's going to be in demand about that part of it. I think New Jersey should look about that one over there, and figure out something with Piquet Subban. But my point is, like, some team looking for defensemen about that for sure. So that's maybe the reason he maybe leave Carolina, because he cannot afford to get him. I'm not worried about Carolina without Edmonton. They still have Bean over there, and they can get someone very good on UFA, where I believe Patterson Barry could be in Carolina.
Man, that's interesting. I don't know. That would be a very big change to go from Dougie Hamilton to Tyson Barrie, but maybe. If anyone's on TikTok, I mentioned we're going to wrap pretty quick here. Pierre, thank you so much for continuing to put up content. I will note, I think this is how little stories we have for a few days, because Vasilevsky literally said, "Oh, I'm surprised to win," and they made a whole article out of it. But it says he was surprised to win the Conn Smythe. I wasn't. Were you?
No, I don't think so. He was well deserved about that one over there. I think he deserved it, and I think he should win the Vezina also. But I think to get that one, I think it was great. That's what they are. It's a team. Like any team win, they don't go for one specific, but for us, like any other sport, like the pitcher, the quarterback, the goaltender have to show up, and they perform very well. But he have an amazing, great run this year as a goaltender, and again, shout out every time. Like you have like 4 or 5 on the playoff, maybe 3. So it's great performance for him. He's well deserved. He was between Kucherov and him at the end of the day, and he got more vote at Kucherov. So maybe he's surprised, but at the end of the day, I'm not surprised at all. He was my pick before the game, so before the.
Yeah, I think he absolutely would have. It would have. I thought Fleury would probably win, but he deserved to win. I mean, he was the best goalie overall. But I think Fleury won partially because he's never won, and he'll never. I don't think he'll ever perform to that level again. So, but I think he absolutely Vasilevsky, was the best goalie in the NHL, and he was absolutely the best, overall Conn Smythe Trophy winner, like absolutely the MVP of the playoffs with Tampa.
Yeah, I know you have to go, but I think the one thing I would say to the people is like the big rumor right now is between the Arizona and Vancouver. Larson go to Vancouver and return. They get Virdanen and Nick Schmidt.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Maybe. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Schmidt. That really kind of hurt them losing Tanev and then having to pick him up. And do you think Tanev will get picked up in the expansion draft? Do you think they'll expose him?
By the way, just mentioned to you, if you watch the one the players sign right now, the Vancouver, if you have a time, just jumping on the conference, Montreal Canadiens make all the press conference right now for the players. That's the last day before they clean up their locker room. But Petrie mentioned, when he shake hands, Michael, he cannot shake hands with the right foot or with the right hands.
Oh yeah, of course. He's gonna have surgery. Like he's got like torn tendons or something.
Yep. So I just wanted to mention about that one over there. So
bottom shooting hand, yeah. All right, Pierre. Thank you so much. We'll see you tonight on your new show in the evening.
Yep. Have a good one, everybody. Talk to you later.